Well, our main news this morning, the Home Office has told judges that asylum seekers' rights must come before local concerns as it fights to keep migrants housed in the Bell Hotel in Epping.
Well, lawyers for Yvette Cooper say the Home Secretary has a legal duty under the ECHR to prevent asylum seekers from being left destitute.
Epping Council says the hotel is breaking planning laws and has fuelled unrest.
Well, the Court of Appeal will give their verdict at 2 p.m, and if the injunction stands, migrants will have to be moved out, possibly paving the way for more councils to shut migrant hotels.
Let's talk to political commentator Duncan Barkes, who's here in the studio. Duncan, morning to you. Whichever way this goes, this is going to be an epic decision, isn't it?
It creates a massive headache for Keir Starmer and the Labour government, regardless of what the Court of Appeal says. So, as we know, the ruling will happen at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That was announced by Lord Justice Bean. And we will find out whether or not the Home Office and the people who own this hotel have won the appeal. If, for example, the appeal is won, the headache for Starmer is effectively, so i.e. if it's won and the Home Office can continue to have the migrants in this hotel, it's effectively 2 fingers to the local council and 2 fingers to local people, saying, well, your concerns really aren't justified about the use of this hotel for migrants. So that creates a headache for Keir Starmer. If they lose the appeal, that's the government and the Home Office, then it opens up a can of worms where you will see other councils, and we know there are other councils around the country, including Labour councils in the Wirral in Merseyside, who are taking advice about, well, can we use a similar tactic regarding the use of a premises and planning as a way of saying that hotel is not suitable or that building's not suitable to house migrants. So whichever way this goes, it potentially causes a nightmare for Keir Starmer.
The Telegraph has summarised yesterday's arguments by saying that the Home Secretary said asylum seekers' rights trump the people of Epping.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
It is. So you've got the lawyers representing the Home Office, and they told the Court of Appeal that the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has a duty to prevent asylum seekers from being made destitute. Now, this is where it becomes really interesting. This is under the European Convention on Human Rights. So the ECHR is effectively back in the spotlight again and being used, some would say abused, in a way of actually fighting this particular case. And of course, we know, well, I think certainly that over the coming months, the ECHR and our signatory to it is going to be up for massive debate, because we know that the Conservatives are looking at potentially making an announcement at their conference in October saying we're going to come out. We know Reform UK are saying if we're in government, will come out of the convention. We also know that there are former Labour grandees like Jack Straw and Lord Blunkett who have said, let's suspend our relationship with the convention so we're able to deport people. And there's a rump of Red Wall Labour MPs who are getting this issue on the doorstep about illegal migration, saying we need to do something about our role or our signatory of the ECHR. So you're never too far away from this human rights law when it comes to this whole debate.
No, and I mean, the bottom line is, and what people will throw at the government time and time again over an issue like this is, quite rightly, the first duty of government is the protection of its people.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said this. I think there are people, as we know, who have got rightly concerns about the levels of migration to this country. But the very basic duty of any government is to protect its borders, right? And to keep the borders of a country safe. And we saw it with the Conservative government. They failed to do it with these illegal channel crossings. And we're seeing it again with Labour. And I think most people just have concerns, and we talked about it at length on GB News, that a lot of the people who are crossing the channel illegally, who are being put up in these hotels in places like Epping, we don't know anything about them. We don't know the background. You can also then make the link that some of these people will come from cultures where the rights of women are negligible, they don't exist. The culture has a very different approach regarding how you treat females, and those people are coming to this country and you're going to get a clash. And we've seen it, haven't we, with the ongoing court cases. And various charges that have been made against some of the migrants in hotels.
I mean, if this judgment is upheld today, there will be wider ramifications, won't there, for the whole asylum model? Because we could see councils across the country looking into their own set of legal actions.
Exactly. So as I mentioned earlier, we have around 3,000 migrants in hotels across the country. If the government loses this appeal and the migrants have to go and move out of the Bell Hotel in Epping by the 12th of September, it opens up a massive can of worms. We're going to see plenty of councils going, right, well, we're going to have a pop at using the same bit of legislation and planning law to say you can't have migrants in that hotel. And then, of course, if they start to win these particular cases, where do the migrants go?
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it?
It's going to be the...
It's not a great end to Keir Starmer's summer-August holiday, whichever way
No,
it
it's
goes.
not.
That the human rights of asylum seekers who are coming to Britain are paramount. And I do think in a lot of this debate, which has become unbelievably heated, we do have to remember that while we know many of the people who are coming across on small boats are economic migrants, and many of them are young men, not all of them are. And there are genuine asylum seekers who are coming to Britain, who are fleeing conflict in places like Afghanistan and Eritrea and Sudan. And if they're sent back there under Nigel Farage's plan, they could be tortured and killed. And I do think it's really important to acknowledge that. And that's not to say that everybody who's coming is in that boat, no pun intended, but some of them are.
Yes, but what does that mean about this? In a way, we need to focus on what's happening right here and now, don't we? I mean, and with this ruling, I mean, how's it going to go down in the UK to be told when people are already angry and frustrated and feeling threatened that their rights as British citizens are second fiddle to those of illegal asylum seekers?
But this isn't a question of rights. We're talking about the
Isn't
rights.
it?
No. We're talking about the rights of asylum seekers versus the views and opinions and feelings of some people. And that's not the same as rights.
And safety concerns. I mean, there's a concern for safety, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But those are not rights. Those are views, opinions and concerns.
I think this is classic, though, isn't it? It's classic. It's like the particular over the whole. So it's like we're having this conversation in this country about the one person. And of course we care what happens to them. But how does their situation, how is it worth as much or more than what the rest of us as a community or a society face? And I appreciate that is always a balance to be struck. But I think, either way it goes today, I think it's lose for the government. I think there's a lose-lose position because, if they're able to keep the Bell open, well, my goodness, that's really telling local people that, your safety concerns are not worth as much.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt about the strength of feeling. I mean, that is absolutely clear. And people have the right to protest and make their voices heard.
Do they have the right to be safe as well, Andy? Because
absolutely they do. Okay. Absolutely they do. But they, I think if you want to go and make your case like this and protest, I think do it outside Parliament. And do it as loudly and as vociferously.
No one's listening outside Parliament.
Well,
no one is listening.
I mean, of course they are. It's on the front page of the Times. It's absolutely setting the political agenda.
The farmers went in their thousands outside Parliament. What difference did that make?
Well,
Absolutely
I think that's
none.
a different issue, and I'm sure we'll talk about tax at some point this
Well,
morning.
it is a different issue, but still nobody listened.
And to those in Epping, it is a local issue. I mean, I was listening to a podcast with one of the pink ladies, one of the mums who'd been protesting in Epping, and she was saying, I'm not political at all. She was like, I couldn't tell you anything about any of the political parties. She was like, I was getting emails from my daughter's school saying, please be mindful of your girls walking to and from school because we have heard reports of them being approached by men. She was alarmed.
I totally
and she spoke to her daughter, who was saying, they try and talk to us most mornings on our walk to school. And that's why she was standing outside the Epping Hotel. So they don't want to be in Westminster. I mean, all this mother's concerned about is that her daughter gets to and from school safely.
And that is completely understandable. I think anybody would accept that. But in the short term, we can talk about the long-term issue. In the short term, these people are here. It's not as straightforward as just sending them back to where they came from. Right now, today, we cannot do that. And therefore, they have to go somewhere. So if they're not in a hotel in Epping, they're going to go to private rented accommodation, probably in the north of England. How are the people in those communities going to feel?
Well, no, that's
like displacing
that's a valid point. But as you say, it's a here and now issue. It is, but people would put up with a here and now situation that they don't like if they knew there was a solution down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, if the government turned around and said, actually, yes, we are going to do what Farage has said, and everyone's going to be deported, but then people would have, and I know there are problems with that.
Huge problems.
Yeah,
huge holes in that plan.
Yeah, fair enough. But people would have an element of sympathy and say, all right, we can put up with it for a month.
But this is the problem. And by the way, I'm not particularly defending the government on this.
No.
Because I don't think they've not set out a clear direction of travel. They've not demonstrated that they've got a plan. But the easy, straightforward, we can just do all of this at a stroke solution that Nigel Farage has put forward has so many holes in it. It's unbelievable.
Lo behold me to defend Nigel Farage, but you know, I don't know how anyone can say that it's got loads of holes in it when he set out such a comprehensive package of changes to our constitutional settlement in terms of, I mean, I know from my time in Downing Street that it wasn't just the European Convention on Human Rights that was the problem. It was the Human Rights Act, and it was the huge tentacles of legislation that went across government. And so I will give Reform credit for actually pulling together quite a comprehensive package of legislative reform that will at least give the government of the day a better shot at sorting out our borders.
But even the most basic questions during the press conference that followed that announcement, what are you going to do about the 27% of people who come across who are women and children? Well, that's a bit complicated.
He said it's not their priority. Enough. I think it is good enough.
No, I don't think it is.
To say prioritising single men, I think you'd get pretty much 100% agreement on that point in the country. So, again, I think it's better to be doing something than nothing. And the package that the government is currently pursuing is insufficient. And we see the way that social fabric is fraying all across the country. And I'm afraid without these protests, the government would probably shrug it off. It's only because they see that happening now in dozens of places across the country. And of course, no one wants them to go over into abuse or violence, but if they're peaceful, law-abiding protests, then at least they're causing the government, the government led by this human rights lawyer, to pause for thought and maybe put the concerns of British people first.